Trump is really, really coming unglued lately. He's really coming unglued. So I'm going to walk you through all this. You'll probably enjoy this. What I want to start with is there is a rally that was upcoming. I actually don't know if it happened yet or not. Oh, it's September 18th, Nassau Coliseum. Okay, so this is in New York, or is that New Jersey?
Long Island, I think.
Okay, yeah, it's right there. I used to, when I was a kid, my dad would take me to like Continental Airlines Arena, I think it was called at the time, in Jersey, and we'd go watch Devils hockey games and stuff. But
yeah.
So he put on the poster for this that there's a special post-speech performance by America's tenor Christopher Macchio, right?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the 79-year-olds are really drooling over this one. They are looking forward to it. But you know why he's doing that, right? He's never done this before. Special post-speech performance.
Oh, because he wants people to stay, not to leave.
Because Kamala got in his head.
Yes. Oh my God, that's amazing.
He's even said it unprompted in another like town hall he did. Somebody was asking him questions, and he goes off on this side tangent about, nobody ever leaves my speeches early. I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody stays my speeches to the very end. We have the best speeches, the most amazing speeches.
That whole quote is hilarious, too, because he starts going in on, like, how he tells these great stories about Hannibal Lecter and about...
windmills. We talk about windmills.
He names several things that you just are just, like, completely head-scratching. He's like, the way I weave them together, it's amazing. You wouldn't believe it. So, yeah, she got in his head big time. It's crazy because you could see it happening in real time on the debate stage, and he lost his mind and has not recovered it.
He was like, oh, I'll get back to immigration in a second, but my rallies, let me talk about my rallies. And he was done. He was gone. And Kamala had this look on her face like, you fucking idiot, I just baited you so easily.
Yeah.
It was the easiest
She was so
bait
delighted.
in human history. Yeah, you could see it all over her face. So that's one thing. He keeps bringing up this thing about how they're not leaving my rallies early. By the way, there actually was, Kamala was referencing a real thing. There were some clips that were floating around social media at one of Trump's rallies where a bunch of the people were leaving early. So
he speaks for a long ass time, and he makes people wait.
Right.
And sometimes it's like freaking hot and medical emergencies and whatever. Of course, people at a certain point, or they bring their kids, and at a certain point, it's like, all right, I can't do this anymore. You know. So
the next instance of him absolutely losing his mind, he goes on Gutfeld, which is probably the most annoying show in America. he's just copying Bill Maher's Politically Incorrect from the 1990s.
Yeah.
You remember that show?
Yeah.
He's just doing like I'm the hardcore Republican version of that. Smug, smarmy, not funny, thinks he is funny, tells horrible jokes that are not really jokes, like that whole thing. So he brings Trump on there, and Trump is talking about the debate, and he makes a factual error that is, in my mind, like impossible. I don't know how he brought himself to the point where he said this. Take a look.
They even said, but all of them, and they didn't correct her once, and they corrected me everything I said practically, and I think 9 times or 11 times, and the audience was absolutely, they went crazy. And the real, I thought it was, I walked off, I said, that was a great debate. I loved it. You know, you got a lot of people watch. I guess we had 75 million people watching, something like that. And you have to do well. You can't do badly.
So he says, you know, the crowd goes crazy, or he references the crowd. There was no crowd.
No audience.
There was no crowd. No, I've said it before. Like, these guys, the way their minds work, he literally doesn't care about if something is true or false, if something actually happened or it didn't.
Yeah.
He just has verbal diarrhea and acts like, yeah, I'm just saying shit, and true enough because I'm saying it.
Yeah. You know, it's always a question with him, like, how much is he knowingly lying and how much is he, like, inventing his own reality in his head and convincing himself of it? But yeah, I think, you know, he is telling a story. He thinks the whole story will hit better if it has that detail in it. And the fact that it's just completely made up and, like, obviously untrue. He knows Greg Gutfeld's not going to check him on it in real time. So
embarrassing, by the way.
Yeah. So he's just like, yeah, I'll just add this detail, this, like, rhetorical flourish. And, you know, it's directionally true, right? You know, after I got off online, I looked and people were upset about it. So, you know, it's sort of kind of true that maybe somewhere in America the audience was upset about it.
Now, imagine for me for a second if Joe Biden said the exact same thing.
Oh, Dementia City, blah, blah, blah. Old
78 articles, even in, like, the respected Washington Post and New York Times. Endless.
Yeah.
But since it's Trump, it's like on the list, it's like number 17 for the scandal of the day.
The thing is that, like, because Trump is still energetic, then it covers.
The charisma overrides it.
The charisma overrides it. That's right. And since Joe Biden, I mean, even just visual, like the way he walks, the way his face hangs, the way he's so slow and stumbles over his words, like you cannot ignore it. And so, especially when you had that contrast between Biden and Trump seemed like a spring chicken. Now, without Biden on the stage, when he's now being compared to Kamala Harris, I do feel like his own slippage has really started to show and be very consequential. I mean, very consequential in this debate. I do not think he could have been so easily thrown off and played back in 2016 by Hillary Clinton.
No.
He was a much stronger competitor then.
No, he actually stayed on topic back then. That was one of the things they did, the comparison between 2016 and 2024. We ran it on my show, and he would just stay on topic. He would just keep talking about the thing he was asked about.
Yeah.
And yeah, he would say, like, the example from 2016 is he said, we got some bad hombres, we're going to get them out. But everything was relevant to the topic at hand. Now, he's all over the place, but I got more examples.
Okay.
So this one is more policy specific than losing his mind, but I have more losing his mind in a minute as well.
Okay.
But let's take a look at this one.
Want a relationship because $60 trillion, millions of dead people all over the world. I was not exactly thrilled with him. But before that, I had a great relationship. And I said, do you have a drug problem? No, we have no drug problem. Oh, how come? Death penalty, immediate. I said, what does that mean, immediate? Immediate. We have what's called a quick trial. You know what a quick trial is? Like in one day, the trial is over. Over here, it'll be 25 years. They'll get some nice liberal lawyer, and they'll have it tied up for 25 years. The guy dies of old age. So, but they have a death penalty. In Singapore, they have a death penalty. In a lot of countries, they have a death penalty. You sell drugs because the average drug dealer kills during his or her life 500 people. The average one. The big ones, much more. But when you hear that, you know, when people start to hear that, and I set up blue ribbon committees, I put, you know, nice people, dilettantes from New York and from Los Angeles, people that know nothing about drugs, and they're dealing with very smart people. These dealers are smart as hell, they're tough as hell, and they make a fortune. They make a fortune. And if you don't have the death penalty for drug dealers, you're just wasting your time. Now, we can keep it down, and we can do better than we're doing now, and a lot better than we're doing now, because what's happening now is out of control.
So this is something he's honestly been saying for years now. I think he started saying it a lot after he got out of office.
Yeah.
He would say this a lot in his speeches. And that's terrifying to me, man. I mean, that is terrifying stuff.
Yeah.
Kill drug dealers, murder drug dealers, have the death penalty for and there was some reporting that he had a lot of really, like, glowing things to say about Duterte in the Philippines.
That's right.
And Duterte was the guy who literally waged, like, a war on not just drug dealers, but also drug users. And they were, like, gunning people down in the streets over it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, they get mad when you say, like, hey, he has dictatorial tendencies, he's an authoritarian, but are we supposed to not describe objective reality? Because that is the correct explanation of what this is.
That's right.
Not a reach. That's not, you know, some liberal hand-wringing. It's just factual. Like, that's what it is.
Right.
And then they take that and they say, you're incentivizing incitement against him. It's like,
insanity.
No, I'm describing the reality of the situation. Maybe he should be less fucking authoritarian. Have you considered that?
Oh, not to mention, the average drug dealer kills 500 people.
Utterly made up. Utterly made up.
Completely made up. Mm-hmm. Insanely made up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, listen, people should not deal drugs. It's not a good thing to do. But the idea that the problem in our country is that we're not punitive enough against any drug crime is pure insanity. And we just got the data. Actually, overdose deaths are way down, like 10% down.
And some places 20 or 30% down.
That's right. And some experts say that may actually be undercounting the improvement. Not because we decided to mass execute drug dealers, but because we actually did some of the harm reduction under Joe Biden that is, you know, empirically sound, and made it so that Narcan is available over the counter.
Right. So naloxone, which is, it reverses overdoses from opioids.
Yeah.
That is now available over the counter. It wasn't previously. And so now, in some of the articles I read about it, you have people who are drug users or in the vicinity of drug users. They always have naloxone on them.
Yeah.
So if somebody overdoses, they administer, and then the person ends up being
die.
Okay.
And then you have a chance to, you know, live your life and eventually potentially recover and whatever. But, you know, their ideas of just a completely militarized, brutal, fascist response. We're going to execute the drug dealers. We're going to do drone wars against the cartels, et cetera. All they claim with the goal of reducing deaths for drug overdose, there's a noble goal. Like this one intervention that they would be totally opposed to, they would completely fearmonger about. That one intervention has been insanely successful. And of course, you know, the real thing to do would be to stop looking at this as a criminal problem, to end the war on drugs and legalize, tax, and regulate. But that for them is completely off the table.
And they act like the war on drugs is like a new idea. We should wage a war on drugs.
Oh my. Nobody's ever tried that before.
Nobody's ever thought of that or tried that for decades and decades and decades and had horrific results in the process. Like, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so now we're back to his brain being cooked.
Okay.
Take a look at this one.
We're energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant, and we would have been now having so much money coming out of the energy. We just have the best. We have Bagram in Alaska. They say it might be as big, might be bigger than all of Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. I got it done. In their first week, they terminated it.
Bagram is, of course, in Afghanistan.
Right.
And he's getting his talking points mixed up because now one of the things he likes to do is shit on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the withdrawal from Afghanistan, something he virtue signaled about, but they actually had the fucking balls to do.
Yeah.
He likes to attack them for it now. And so he's always mentioning Bagram. Oh, they left behind Bagram. It was terrible. They left behind Bagram. Him saying we shouldn't have done that is him saying, oh, I wanted to keep thousands of U.S. troops in Afghanistan. That's the point he's making. So Michael Tracy makes this point all the time. So he's like, you're admitting that you never wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan.
Yes.
You're admitting that right now.
Yeah.
So he brings up Bagram, but his wires crossed because he was trying to talk about Alaska and talk about their oil field or something. What was the name of it?
ANWR, I think. ANWR.
Yes.
Arctic National Wildlife Refuge is what he seems to have been trying to refer to.
That's what he was trying to say, but again, we're at the point now where it's Joe Biden at the NATO summit, and it's, ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Right.
Oh, no, we're going to get Putin. This is Zelensky. Right.
Oh,
Zelensky.
God, that was so bad.
Vice President Trump. Remember we said Vice President
God.
Trump?
And everybody, and all the reporters afterwards like, he did a great job. Like, oh my God.
But watch, you're not going to see anybody talk about this like everybody talked about that.
Well, and here's the thing is like, listen, anyone can, you know, misspeak. We do it, you know, when we're talking a lot. But when you start to have a number of these and things that are in his lexicon that should be easily grabbed by his brain, he's an old man and he's unhealthy. Like, it's not hard to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, and I have one more for you, which further drives the point home, how disconnected he is from reality. We covered on my show, he had like an Econ 101 fail. He was asked about the cost of the tariffs being unloaded on regular people, and he starts rambling about, no, the opposite is going to happen, and I'm going to get rid of the deficit. What? That wasn't even remotely the question.
You're
that
right.
wasn't. And so then I explained on my show the way tariffs, when working properly, how tariffs are supposed to function. And I was like, he couldn't even give you the logical explanation as to in what instances tariffs make sense and why you do tariffs. Because he just wants to do the across-the-board tariff for everything coming in the country, which is economic suicide.
Yeah, and I see some Republicans trying to, oh, now Democrats don't like tariffs. Well, you kept Trump's tariffs on. It's like doing some targeted tariffs in industries that make sense. That's one thing. Putting an across-the-board tariff on literally everything, that's just stupid. That's insane, especially at a time when American consumers say their number one concern is high prices. And you're just like, you could not design a more inflationary economic policy than his across-the-board tariffs plus mass deportation.
Right.
You could not design a more inflationary policy. So it's totally insane. And this is another area where, you know, the media coverage doesn't do it justice because they just don't really take him seriously. So we're like, oh, well, he says that, but it's probably not going to really do it.
Yeah, they never do like real policy stuff.
Yeah, but if you just took those two policies and you really modeled, okay, if he's serious about it, and sometimes he's floated, by the way, 20% tariff, and you combine that with, he's saying he wants to mass deport every undocumented immigrant and some that are, you know, actually legal immigrants, like the ones, you know, the Haitians that are in Springfield, Ohio right now. If you really take all of those people out of the country, you will not have people to build houses, pick crops, like all sorts of things. It would be so unbelievably inflationary, not to mention horrifying, brutal, cruel, antithetical to like basic American value. It would be horrifying. But just purely morality out of it, what it would do economically is totally insane. But the policy answer that really got me in terms of Trump not being all there anymore is when he got asked about childcare.
Oh, yeah.
That
He's all over the
New
place.
York Economic Council or whatever the hell that thing was.
He brought up tariffs. He brought up tariffs again.
Yeah, and he's like, well, Ivanka and Marco, they do some things, and childcare, of course, you got to have it. I mean, it was just like not one coherent sentence in the entire answer.
What he was trying to say,
some basic shit.
He was trying to say, we're going to take the money that we make from the tariffs and maybe spend it on childcare. That's what he was trying to say. But it wasn't logical. It wasn't coherent. And it really, he's not even going to do that. That's the real takeaway, is he ain't going to do shit on childcare.
Of course.
Apparently in the his first term, Ivanka did want to do it, and she just got stonewalled, and the thing ended up going nowhere. Why? Because you're a Republican, and you're on the side of Republicans, and they have no interest in doing something like childcare, even though they virtue signal about being so pro-family.
J.D. Vance called affordable childcare class war against the working
Mr. Populist, 0% rating from AFL-CIO. I'm so populist, bro.
Ridiculous.
I'm so populist, bro.
Ridiculous.
And by the way, I would describe myself as a protectionist. But like you point out all the time, it would be the whole point of a tariff is here we have this U.S. industry that is trying to compete with this overseas industry of the same product.
Yeah.
Let's tariff that to make the price go up for domestic consumers to therefore incentivize people to go get the cheaper American-made product. That's the whole. So the whole point of a tariff is to raise the price to incentivize people to buy American.
Right.
The problem is the United States of America doesn't make every single good or product under the sun.
Well,
and we can't. We
nor
don't have
should
the
we.
climate for certain things to grow certain things and get certain things done. So those things you have to import, and to tariff those things when there is no U.S. industry competing with them, again, is economic suicide. You're begging for inflation in that scenario.
The idea of tariffs, a more protectionist policy or industrial policy, is that rather than just saying markets do your thing, that a country has certain specific strategic or other interests that are, critical to the people of the country. So the example under the Biden administration is they see
microchips.
EV cars, electric vehicles, as a really key future industry. And the Chinese are kind of kicking our ass right now in EVs. And so some of the tariffs have been to try to nurture, foster, and protect domestic EV production, both because it's a critical industry of the future. We want those cars to be made here. Also good for, union workers here, and you want the auto industry to stay vital and healthy, really key in, certain, a lot of states. This is very important economically for the, livelihoods of the people there. And so it makes sense in that context. But does it make sense in every single context? Literally everything? No. It's about having a strategic plan of the things that you think are critical for you to be able to produce domestically. Like during COVID, we learned, we don't make any masks, or we don't make any of the, the syringes for the administering the vaccine. That seems like a problem. Those are the sorts of things that are worth people paying more for in order to secure a domestic production of. But yeah, it's just his thing is stupid, insane, whatever.
All right, so I got to show you the last one, because this, in my opinion, is actually the worst. Take a look.
As the major threats to the future of Michigan manufacturing, auto working jobs, and what will you do to eliminate those threats, sir?
Okay, so I'll get into another little bit of a long answer, because when you say major threat, to me we have one really major threat that's called nuclear weapons. We have other countries that are hostile to us. They don't have to be hostile to us. I always say if you have a smart president, you'll never have a problem with China, Russia, or any of them, okay?
He's asked about the biggest threat to Michigan manufacturing, and his answer is nuclear. Nuclear weapons, big threat. His brain heard the word threat, and he just went, nuclear. So he didn't hear the rest of it. Michigan manufacturing.
Well, and that should be, 2016 Trump, that's in his wheelhouse.
Of course. Hillary, she did NAFTA. They outsourced all the jobs. I'm going to protect your jobs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. China's going to stop ripping us off and taking our jobs.
I'm not going to say that nuclear weapons aren't a real problem, but not exactly the question that the answer that people who are working manufacturing jobs in Michigan are really focused on right at this point.
And by the way, what's the biggest threat to Michigan manufacturing? His policies. We saw it in the first term. his tax bill, not only did 83% of the benefits go to the top 1%, it incentivized corporate outsourcing. We lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs under Trump the first time around. He incentivized outsourcing as he pretended like he wasn't. Remember the whole Carrier fiasco?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm going to save the jobs. When you do a big press conference, I'm going to save the jobs at Carrier. He gave them a giant taxpayer subsidy, and then within a year, they outsourced the jobs anyway.
Yeah. Well,
so they robbed you twice.
Yeah.
They robbed you by taking your tax money, then they also, the company outsourced the jobs anyway and screwed over the workers. And he was horrible on economic policy and on manufacturing.
The only quote-unquote, which I personally think this is anti-populist, but quote-unquote populist part of Trump anymore is just like immigration fascism. That's it. Any of the trade stuff, whatever. Even the SALT tax, which, I mean, it's a whole thing about should rich people in blue states be able to deduct the state taxes that they pay from their federal income tax? A major priority of rich people in like New York, New Jersey, California, basically higher tax locations. And the Republicans under Trump in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they said, okay, no, we're instituting a cap. Sorry, rich people in the blue states.
He was just trying to punish Democrats.
Yeah, he was trying to punish Democrats. Yeah. But then, you know, now he's completely flipped on that.
Yep.
And the impact of flipping on that is just a giant tax giveaway to rich people. Like, if you look at the economic impact, it 100% goes to wealthy Americans. Right. So, but you can see why, because now he's got some new, like, billionaire, millionaire supporters in those blue states, and he wants to make them happy, and so he flipped on crypto, too, and anything that may have been somewhat populist rhetoric from 2016 is long gone.
Yeah, but I mean, he was lying about it then. And
Clearly,
you could argue now
obviously.
he's just being more open about the fact that he's a plutocrat.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
that's
the reality.
It's just incredibly bright. Like, the flip on crypto and the flip on SALT are just amazingly brazen. Amazingly brazen.
I mean, yeah, there were reports of he had these fundraisers with multi-millionaires and billionaires, and he was like, okay, you give me money and I'll cut your taxes more.
Yeah. No, we went to oil executives and was like, you should raise $1 billion for me because I'm going to deregulate and it'll be worth your return on investment. Amazing.
All right. We're running out of time before our guest comes, so I want to do this last one here.
Yeah.
So here we have Matt Walsh goes on Counterpoints with Ryan Grimm
our
and
sister
Emily
program over on the Breaking Points channel.
And look, I got to be honest, when I heard that Matt Walsh was coming on, I was like, because that dude deserves nothing but scorn and derision. You know, that's how I view him. I view him as a dishonest actor, you know, and a genuine, like, on the body politic, he has a disgusting effect. I've never seen anybody so fucking transphobic and so obsessed with it and just so doctrinaire, extremely right-wing authoritarian. So anyway, I was like, oh, God, I don't even want to watch it. That's how I don't want to watch it because I would be hypercritical. But there's a clip that's been floating around Twitter. Ryan Grimm saws off his ass and then hands it to him on a silver platter because they get into a topic, Haiti, which Ryan Grimm just knows shit about the history of Haiti, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what is Matt Walsh's position? Haiti, black people, they got to get their shit together, bro. Like, that's what his mind does, right?
Of course.
So here, let's take a look and we'll react.
Nobody thinks that it will benefit America to become more like Haiti. Nobody thinks that. Or I would challenge anyone, if they do think that, to explain how that's the case. Like, in what way could this country be improved by making it more like Haiti? When you look at Haiti, what part of Haiti are you saying to yourself, we need more of that?
Beaches.
Well, we have more beaches than them too, right? Don't we?
Right.
We're a much bigger country.
We don't want a marine invasion and occupation of the United States that constantly decapitates governments and takes the money out of the country. And saddles us with
we don't want the Clintons
debt
either.
from a revolution. Yeah,
right. Although I don't. So you're saying that
we wouldn't want to be like basically a colony that the entire West spends 200 years punishing after the Haitian Revolution.
I get that. I understand that, but also at a certain
we
point,
wouldn't want that. No, yes,
we wouldn't want that. But I would also say that that's not entirely why Haiti's in the position that it's in. I mean, at a certain point, as a country, you have to stand on your own 2 feet and take care of yourself. And
but at what point is that? They elect Aristide and we overthrow Aristide. Then they elect Jovenel Moïse. Jovenel Moïse is assassinated a bunch of people with American connections, and then we install in 2021, like the United States installed the prime minister that we just ousted. Like, so we could say, okay, yeah, you got to get over the 200 years ago, but like we're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not in favor of, I'm very non-interventionist. in my policies, so I'm not in favor of most of the things that we're doing in other countries.
We just made the new government in Haiti in a hotel room in Jamaica. And then we insisted that whatever government we made in Jamaica had to allow Kenyan troops to come in under the flag of the UN in order to go to war with the gangs.
Yeah, I'm not interested in, if it were up to me, I'm not interested in doing anything in Haiti. Like let Haiti be Haiti and take care of them. That's sort of my whole point here. Let them take care of themselves and their own problems. I'm also not saying that there's like never a scenario where we would let someone from Haiti into the country. But it doesn't have to just be about Haiti, but when you're throwing open the gates and just inviting anyone, in particular,
I guess
third world.
I guess your assumption there was that it is Haitian people that are creating the conditions on Haiti, and that if the Haitian people come to Springfield, they will recreate the conditions
but I don't think you
Haiti in Springfield.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was brutal. I mean, and Zed Jelani he tweeted something too. He tweeted like the average income of a Haitian in Haiti versus a Haitian. It was either in Springfield, Ohio, or in the U.S. more broadly.
Yeah.
It was like $1,200 a year in Haiti versus like $65,000 here, and he was making the point that like Matt Walsh just genuinely believes that, like, oh, these are people with inferior genes.
Yeah.
And they're just bad people. They'll never get their shit together. It's 100% on them. And then, oh, would you look at that? If you take people out of the objectively horrendous and shitty situation that they were born into, when you drop them in a place where they have some opportunity, oh, wow, look, they're church-going, family-loving, hard-working people, as all, everything indicates, right? And I love the part where he brings up the recent history, Aristide, how we overthrew Aristide, who was basically trying to make Haiti prosperous and functional and happy, and we were like, but nope, we don't want any of that. Get rid of that guy.
There may be no other country on earth that we've fucked with as much as Haiti, and I don't think Matt Walsh realized who he was dealing with here, because you should not get in a battle with Ryan about
niche political
overseas foreign next Matt Walsh is going to be like, well, tell me about Pakistan. I mean, Ryan can
sit down, buddy.
the depth of knowledge, and he's done partly because he himself has been one of the few journalists who's done the work reporting these situations out, so he knows it backwards and forwards. But it really does expose a lot of lies, because everything about the Haitians in Springfield situation, the way they've characterized, the way the right has characterized it, is just so utterly disgusting to me.
We're going to talk in a second about
that. Yeah, so this would be a good way to segue into Adam. But, you have J.D. Vance saying, I know they're technically, I'm still going to call them illegal aliens.
Yeah.
It's like, these people, by all accounts, did everything that you say that immigrants, the model immigrant, should do. They came here legally. There were job openings in this town that was dying, that had been losing population. It was withering on the vine. And there were job openings. And so they applied for the jobs, and they got the job. And guess what? They work hard. The local business owners say, they show up on time, they meet their numbers, they do an excellent job. And yeah, let's have a conversation about the way that all workers are exploited and should be unionized and all those things. It's not these workers, it's not the Haitian migrants' fault. That's the fault of the, politicians like Donald Trump and assholes like J.D. Vance. That's whose fault that is. They go to the church. They have lower crime rates than the native-born population. So they did everything they're supposed to do, and still they're demonized and subject to basically like harassment and terrorism. And it's so disgusting to me. I can't even begin to describe it.
I can't figure out what it is about them that the right doesn't like.
Oh.
It's hard to figure out what one thing specifically makes them different enough in their eyes where they're willing to just smear them relentlessly and try to deport them even though they're legal. It's very hard to figure out.